afraid, where we need to move on to our next segment. And the GDPR police would not let your mother in at this day and age to see your results. I'm sorry, we have to move on from you, because it was really stimulating, and it kind of touches on an awful lot of questions and issues that we all have at the moment. And we'll pull together the chat and circulate it to those that were on the session. Your segment will be up as a video, so people can go back and look at it. And I'm terribly sorry that we're chopping you off, but this is in the world of back-to-back Zoom meetings. Everything comes back-to-back when you don't have to walk between buildings. So Ciara, can I thank you very much for your contribution and for how timely it is in terms of the questions we're facing, and sadly move swiftly on to the next element of our conversation, which is our colleagues from IT Services talking about the Digital Office project. Peter and Aidan are going to talk about that, and IT Services, as we all know, have been doing sterling work around making all of the hybrid working we've been doing possible. So it's great to get a chance to hear another update from them as they progress through, help us progress through that journey in the hybrid world and the return to campus. So with no further ado, over to Peter and Aidan.
Michael, thanks very much. Just to check, everyone can see my screen there, Digital Office Project slide, yes? Yep. Yeah, great. Okay. Thanks very much, Ciara. I found that really interesting. I have to confess, I'm one of the lockdown puppy family, so hybrid working has certainly, I think, kept the puppies very happy. So my name is Peter Mckinnon. I'm a project manager in the Enterprise Applications Group in IT Services. I'm joined today by Aidan Kern, one of my colleagues also from EAG. Our presentation ties in very much and it follows on very nicely from Ciara's presentation. We're going to focus on our digital office project and digital transformation in practice, and really how we can facilitate hybrid working. I hope at the end of this session we'll have sparked an interest in how our digital office can improve how you collaborate with colleagues, how you make your digital work environment easier to manage and be more effective. In the digital office, many of our common tasks will remain the same. We will still email as before, but others will require a bit of adjustment in some of the other areas. So how we sign documents, manage files, run brainstorming sessions, use our office phone from home. This can now all be done online. And I like the quotation there from one of the VPs in Gartner: success in a hybrid work environment requires employers to move beyond viewing remote or hybrid environments as a temporary or short-term strategy and to treat it as an opportunity. And I think we can all agree in many respects, productivity has probably gone up during the hybrid working phase. So what does the digital office actually mean? To quote Google, it's an integrated solution with a singular promise: everything you need to get anything done now in one place. And I'd add to that, and to get anything done completely independent of location. So it's about taking location completely out of the picture. And this concept strongly supports our own strategy to implement advanced systems and services, and that's from the team transforming through digital technology from our university strategy. So two of the key principles are, firstly, common tools and approaches for common tasks, and that's kind of a theme throughout our digital office project. And then also, all data and documents will be stored, accessed, processed, and transmitted electronically. And there are two themes from our strategy. And I also very much like this whole concept of collaboration equity. And this is the ability to contribute equally, regardless of location, role, experience level, and device preference, I should say. So that's just like a number of ways the digital office can be described and where it fits in with our own university strategy. So in terms of our own project, what will that actually deliver? What will it actually do? So we divided our digital office into three main themes. The first one is file storage and sharing. So file storage and sharing has now moved almost completely online with hybrid working. And this actually gives us more control and flexibility over how we manage and share our information. For example, you can use a shared drive and folders to organize your team files, grant access only to whom and when it is needed. And we also have a wealth of information now developed on how best to manage your file storage and sharing. And as part of all this project, one of the key parts of this project was to set up a website, and Aidan will showcase that for you in a few moments. And that does highlight all the resources that we have on these common tools. The second area then is collaboration, the second theme. So working online has transformed how we collaborate, really. Meetings via video calls are now part of, we're all very used to video calls as part of our working lives. Signing documents and collaboration on drafts can actually be done more efficiently using our online common tools by cutting down on duplicate versions, lost hard copies, and multiple emails. We're all very familiar with those issues. We can continue this transformation by using our shared tools for areas like instant messaging, discussion forums, workshops, registration forms, and more. And the whole idea, again, is taking the location out of the picture completely. So the third theme, and the one that Aidan's going to just give you a live demo of again in a few moments, just around optimal use of your calendar and how best to use your calendar and get the most out of it. But time management, as we know, particularly hybrid working, is more important than ever, especially if we have to make time for other responsibilities on days we're working from home, and Ciara outlined some of the issues that come up around that. And it can really help, and we can help do this by keeping our calendars up to date, by letting each other see at a glance when we're free and busy, and when we're working, and by using a team calendar to show our team meetings, events, and absences. And there's ways of doing this very easily with our current calendar tools. And this will help us make better use of time and make planning meetings all the more easier, even in the hybrid environment. So I'm going to hand you over to Aidan in a moment. So with a live demo of some of the calendar features, which I think could make we could make more use of across the university, particularly when we think in terms of using common tools for common tasks. And so Aidan's going to take you through a live demo now on some of the optimal ways to use your calendar, and he's also going to showcase for you our digital office website, where we have a whole wealth of resources on these three different areas that help support hybrid working. So I'll just stop my share now, Aidan, and I'll hand it over to you.
Great. Thanks, Peter. Morning, everyone. I'm just going to share my screen as well. Just going to show you some practical examples, and just for the GDPR police, that's a sample calendar, it's not my actual calendar. Just going to show you some practical examples, as Peter mentioned, of how we can make the most of using our calendars. And one of the objectives is to free up time and to free up your inbox as well, because a lot of tasks we're currently doing around our calendar might be a bit labor intensive, or we're sending around lots of emails and polls to try and organize meetings. We just want to show you ways of simplifying that and saving time. And also, as Ciara mentioned in her presentation earlier, setting boundaries and keeping time for yourself and managing your work-life balance is very important for us as well. So you can see on my screen just a sample calendar there with various meetings set into it. You might notice at the top I've got settings like home and office. I've got an out of office setting here for this day. There's another yellow calendar here for some reason. That's a school office calendar as well. So if this isn't my calendar, as I said, if someone wanted to meet with me, they could just search for my calendar. They could see it as blocks of busy without showing any details. Again, the GDPR police can stand down. They can see that, yeah, Friday morning looks good for me. If they want to have a meeting with me, they don't need to send me a poll or send me emails. They can just jump straight in and organize a meeting with me like that. Okay, so I'm just going to show you very quickly some of those settings and how you can set them up. All of this information is on our website as well, so you don't need to take a flurry of notes or anything like that. You'll be able to go step by step through all these things and the resources we'll show you in a moment. Really, the first message we want to get across to people is to keep your calendar up to date. That means when you know you're going to be out of the office, or when you know you're taking leave, or you know you have meetings, make sure you put them into your calendar as soon as possible, because otherwise you'll be have more managing to do with other things that come in and people looking to take your time as well. That free and busy setting that I showed you there when you saw my calendar, only blocks of busy, is something we're really encouraging people to do. I'll just show you how to do that. I'm just down near this calendar here. I've got these settings and sharings. I scroll down to access permissions for events, and I have it ticked on to make my calendar available for University College Dublin, but only as free or busy. And as you saw there, people can check your calendar without seeing the details of your calendar. And I know that might be a bit of a culture shift for people who might say, well, why do people want to check what time I'm working and things like that? But the fact is, it makes more sense for us as an organization and as a team that we can see these things and organize our meetings more efficiently as well. So it does save time, it saves meetings. I know I can see some familiar faces here who I know do these things already. I'm sure they can testify to the fact that it cuts down on a lot of the unnecessary extra admin tasks that you have to do just to do your day-to-day job as well. So that's that. You saw here these settings about home and office. Again, a hybrid environment implies that it's a mix of working from home and working from office. If you let people see your calendar is busy, there's also a setting where they can see at a glance if you're working from home or from your office. If I just show you here, just go into your general settings and you can just go into working hours and location. The working hours section, you can set that, which is very useful for a lot of us if we have responsibilities outside of work. You can set it so that your working hours are on your calendar from say 9 o'clock to 1 on a Wednesday. What that does is that anyone who tries to invite you for a meeting outside of those hours gets a notification saying that's outside your normal working hours, so they can see that that's not a time you'll be available. We can't police the polytest of your colleagues whether they'll go ahead and invite you or not, but at least they'll see that and they'll be aware of it. The enable working location is what you saw at the top of that calendar. It shows people who have access to see your calendar is free and busy, whether you'll be in the office or whether you'll be working from home, as well as being able to see that. We are, and Mark mentioned at the very start, we may still have more restrictions and guidelines to keep for a time yet. So we might have to manage workplace capacity, who attends on what day as well. So that's a way of seeing at a glance as well who'd be in and out. I know there are some teams already using that setting and they seem to get on very well with it. We mentioned at the start there about keeping your boundaries and making sure you have your own work-life balance and your time for yourself as well. This out-of-office setting in your calendar is a way of blocking off time. Oh, sorry, I'll just go back here. You just click on any part of your calendar, you see an out-of-office here. And you can go ahead and set all the dates either for part of a day or for a whole day. And it also lets you decline new and existing meetings. So if you've already got a meeting arranged for that out of office time, it'll decline it for you. If anyone sends you a meeting request for that day, it'll automatically decline it because you're out of office. So again, this comes back to as well keeping your calendars up to date. The earlier you can set that in your calendar, you won't have the risk of having to go back to people and say, no, I'm actually out of the office. They'll be able to see straight away. They'll get a message immediately saying that you're out of office from your work. And finally, this setting here, we've set up a shared calendar, a team calendar, and lots of places around the university use it in different ways. In IT services, we have one of these where we enter in days that people are taking on leave, and also team meetings as well, or other team events. And as you can see, you can overlay it on your own personal calendar. So it's a good way of seeing at a glance who's in, who's out, when you have team meetings, when you have other events as well. So those are really some of the settings in your Google Calendar that we can make the most of. And as you can see, it'll cut down on a lot of the back and forth of organizing meetings, of saying when you're available, when you're not available. It may, as I said, be something different for you. But like I said, there's no GDPR worries about showing people that you're busy at a certain time. Again, these are all optional settings, but we encourage teams to take them on. So if you want to go back to your team today and say, why don't we as a team do this? The more teams that do it, the more people across the university will do it, because we're working more and more outside of our silos is the favorite word of everyone when we're having this discussion. So the benefit would be felt across the university, the more people who do it. Peter mentioned we have a digital office website. It's ucd.ie/digital office. And that's it here, where we're bringing together under those three themes that Peter mentioned in his presentation: collaborating, calendaring, and file storing and sharing, the various tips and tricks that we have. I'll just go into the calendaring one that you can see, just have a short preamble. We have just a short video here giving an overview of just the things that Peter and myself have spoken about today. And here we have our resources for doing various different tasks within your calendar, such as how to get started. What I just spoke about there, for example, displaying my calendar as blocks of free and busy, and all of these links link to the new IT Support Hub, the knowledge base articles that we have there, where we set out how exactly to do these things, illustrate them where we can, give step-by-step guides of using all of these tools as well. So we definitely encourage you to browse those articles, make the most of them as well. As you can see, we've got ones on collaborating, where we've got lots of different resources about managing communications, managing a meeting, managing a webinar or online workshop as well. We also have supporting information such as the file storage and sharing guide, along with our colleagues in the GDPR office, that provides some basis and some guidance and reassurance for you for using Google Drive and sharing files and information in this environment as well. And we also have a YouTube channel as well with all of our short clips as well. I agree. I'll just show you our YouTube channel very quickly. I'll switch off the sound. We have playlists such as work on various Google tools, tips and tricks for Zoom, all very short videos as well, Terminal 4 and various other playlists as well for the information that we have. And again, the objective here is to free up your time and to free up your inbox. And you know, we can chip away at these things and do it gradually, but we will get it done hopefully. And you'll see the benefits from these things. So I hope you'll get some ideas from browsing our site. I'll put the link into the chat now in a moment. You'll be able to go and see that. But certainly plenty of things there for you to look at, to go back to your teams, to see how you can implement these things on a team basis, and just make the most of the tools that we already have. And we can see the progress that we have already made in adapting in various processes, and we can continue and we can build on that from going from remote working to hybrid working. Okay, thanks very much. I'll just stop sharing my screen for a moment. I think we do have a little bit of time, do we, Justine, for questions?
Yep, we've got a few minutes there, Aidan, so just check through the chat there.
I've just got a question for Peter and for Aidan. I'm curious as to what you've seen change in terms of the digital office, say since April of last year, to how people are working now, and indeed have you seen a change in the last month? But I know for all of us, the move to remote was a jolt, and IT made that possible. So, but what has evolved in terms of people's behaviour or their use of technology since then? What do you see people finding the best use of, and maybe things that they aren't as conscious of as you might hope? But tell us the story, if you can, a little bit about what you've seen.
Sure, Aidan, I'll take that as a start. Maybe you can follow in then. But
yeah, sure.
Certainly one of the big areas, Michael, I think, is we found a lot more interest in kind of live collaboration. So you have teams working in different locations. Some of them might be the office, some of them might be at home, and they still have a requirement to work on a document, for example. So it could be a spreadsheet, it could be a Word or a Google Doc, whatever it is. And you know, normally you're able to go down the corridor or get together around a table in a room and you can collaborate on the document. You might put stuff up on a whiteboard or something like that, but you can't really do that with hybrid working. So we found a lot of interest in building now in the whole area around live collaboration, and the kind of suite applications we're talking about there really facilitate that very well. And I think we did a demo one of the previous Work Smarter events on live collaboration of documents, so that you can work together on the document, you know, in some ways easier than you could sitting around a table working on your laptop. So I think for me that would probably be the kind of standout area that we see more and more interest of as we kind of build awareness of the power of some of these tools that people have ready on the desktops. And I just think, you know, it kind of ties in with the whole area of the common tools for common tasks. That they're there, but I really suspect that people aren't getting the full use of the power that's available there for them. Yeah.
I can just give you another example if I can very quickly. Previously, I know of a lot of HR colleagues here, contracts sent out to new employees were sent out in the post, took maybe a week or so or longer to come back, get processed as well. Now that's done in a day online. And the benefits that knocks on in terms of getting an employee set up more quickly, getting them IT access more quickly. They're happier starting off, which is a crucial time for giving people a good impression and making workplace a nice place to be, and maybe even a bit of joy, as Kira mentioned earlier on. So all these things add up.
That's your document signing solution that you released earlier this year, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's that called?
NitroSign.
NitroSign, absolutely. What about what you've seen? If there's other questions, Josephine or Olga, let me know. But what about what you've seen in terms of people's use of Zoom as an integrated part of day-to-day life? Have you any interesting insights from that pattern? And perhaps you don't, but I know a lot of us spend a lot of time on Zoom.
I think one of the things that Peter mentioned was collaboration as well. And I know that Zoom allows people to work on a single version of a document during a Zoom call, where you can have the document on screen, you can all chip into it and you can see each other's edits, where previously there were multiple versions flying around. You couldn't make changes at the same time if something saved on a Novell drive. Yeah. So it creates its own dynamic in its way, as well as cutting down time, cutting down emails. It does replicate to an extent the idea of working together and brainstorming and putting heads together.
Yeah, and just to add to that, Michael, as well, I think there'll be a big demand and a big change in terms of, like, some people will be in the office, you'll be sharing a meeting, some people will be in the office sitting around a desk, and some people will be at home. And how does that work? It doesn't work if everybody's just working off laptops and you get feedback and everything. But there are new screens, and we have a couple of them in the computer center, and I know some other offices are looking at getting some. So you basically they're all in one piece. You have a screen, and it takes the whole issue of some people live in the office and some people been at home out of the picture. This thing picks up everyone in the room. It zooms in on the person who's talking. It encompasses everyone, and I can work with a group of people, and I have done it. 5 people sitting around a desk, and I could partake in the meeting just as if I was there. It's very interesting technology.
That ties in with a really important theme that Kira brought up in her talk, which is about not creating disadvantage for people who are working from home at a given point in time, that we don't create that kind of two-tier experience. But my sense of things is we're still exploring heavily as to what the way we can get, especially what you've just mentioned there, Peter, that kind of that meeting technology. We're still heavily exploring how that might work. I presume that's an evolving area even as we speak, as to how
Absolutely, Michael. I mean, as I say, we've only got 1 or 2 of those screens fitted. We got it on test originally, and as I say, I know there's interest in some other offices in them as well. But it's a game changer for me for the whole mix of some people at home and some people in the office, which is what's happening now. A few months ago we were all working from home, but over the coming months you'll find some people are back in the offices for projects or whatever, and then some people will still be at home on a given day. And it's a nightmare to try and organize a meeting to get everybody in one location in the current environment anyway. So it just takes that whole thing out of the picture, and for me it's going to be a game changer. And
have you got to the point where you're ready in IT services to share about some of that technology, or I'm sure you do, or I may have missed it, but have you got stories coming out around that, or is it a little bit early for those?
It's probably a little bit early. We're using it. I mean, as I say, they're only starting to be adopted around the university. Oops. But it just ties in with Zoom. It's an additional piece of functionality around Zoom, really.
I'm sure there's a hungry audience for any inspiration as to how we can do those things, because we're all still exploring. And I see a comment in from Iris around the mechanics of open plan offices when people are on Zoom meetings. We even tried it in Agile where there were 2 of us in the same space at the same Zoom meeting, and even with the best of headsets, you couldn't really do that. So there was a lot. I know some schools and some offices have got spare rooms that people book so that they can take part even in the same meeting. So that's a whole evolving area, I think, for all of us tied in with the technology. But you made a good point. I mean, it's a practical point around how Zoom and shared documents in Google can work really well together for a team collaborating. So thank you for that. So you guys are, the digital office isn't built yet. It's as that terrible but true phrase go. It's a work in progress. More news to be seen soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's always going to be a work in progress.
It's always me, and it's there for everybody to use now. So I'd encourage go and have a look. We have a wealth of information off the website now, and just see how the tools are there. It's just about how best to use them across teams and hybrid working. Really is.
And just on that point, very quickly to finish, someone had a question there: how do we get people to use common tools for common tasks? And the glib answer is to use them.
To use them, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's the best way to find out which the best ones are. You can have arguments forever about the best one in theory.
We're not saying one tool for every task. Common tools for common tasks.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, Peter and Aidan, thank you very much for your contribution, and we'll circulate the usual links and keep track of things as ever, but thank you for that. So now I'm going to move on to our 3rd session, which is inviting Aidan Morgan from the UCD Innovation Academy to lead a panel discussion around what the future of work might look like post-COVID. So we're waiting for Aidan to present us, for Alan to present us with the